My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. We are going to break down the UFC 268 card, the Monkey Knife Fight lines, and give you some of our picks. If you watched the video that I did a few days ago with Chris Riley, you literally watched the man who sets these lines talk about the lines, how he got there, and how they've moved since the opening. Well, it is Friday. These lines have moved even more. So we're digging in, we're taking a look, we're seeing what moved, and we're going to give you some more plays. Before we jump in, this is daily fantasy, and it is super easy and super fun. Go to wewantpicks.com/MKF. Jump in, sign up. They will instantly match your deposit up to $100. If you give them 50, they'll give you 50. You give them 100, they'll give you 100. Take the free 100. The free 100, the free money. Spend that. Play some of these lines. If you lose it all, who cares? Withdraw your real money. It costs you nothing. If you win, keep the winnings in there. Keep it going. You can still withdraw your real money and let this go. So let's jump right in. I want to take a look at a few of these fights. We're going to go to the main event. We have Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, 168, 114. I believe this line moved a little bit, but not a ton. Do you still feel good about the more?
I felt like it moved a ton, but maybe not. I thought it was like maybe 130 to like 90 something for Colby, but yeah, it's probably the more. It's probably the more. Honestly, both these guys are tough. The last fight went 5 rounds, so.
And the first fight was 174, I think, for Usman, and 145 for Covington. So if this is an exact replica of the first fight, the more
less. I'm going less. I changed my mind because I honestly think Colby comes out. I think he goes balls to the wall grappling. I think he just tries to grapple. You saw that against Woodley. He came in and grappled him. I think he uses that confidence against Usman. And technically, he should be the better wrestler. He's a smaller guy, but he should be the better wrestler. I think he comes in grapple heavy. So I'm going less.
Yeah, he should. So Colby's on paper the better wrestler because he wrestled D1 and Kamaru did not wrestle D1. I do know somebody. A fellow wrestler from Connecticut that roomed with Kamaru Usman in college. They were on the same team. And he said he's an absolute savage wrestler. And the person that I know was not a D1 wrestler and smoked several D1 wrestlers in off-season wrestling tournaments. So,
but he was in, when you say D1 and D2, Colby was a D1, but he was never a national champion, where Usman was a national champion D2. Yeah. So, you know.
And so was the person I'm talking about. I'm not going to say his name, but so was the person I was talking about.
It was me.
That roomed with him. And
it was me.
And he smoked some D1 wrestlers. So either way, you can do with that what you will. It doesn't matter for this. But you're saying you want the less because you do think Colby will wrestle in that fight. Let's take a look at a few others. We're going to bounce around a bit because we've already broken down the top 3 more than once. And we've broken down every single one of these fights in detail. Check out those individual videos if you'd like. But let's look at Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, 96.5. Michael Chandler, 45.5. And this is a sneaky one because the Vegas round line is 1.5. But this is way more than 1.5 rounds worth of strikes. So you did the under, meaning you bet on this fight to end before 1.5 rounds. So I'm assuming you're going to do the less here with strikes.
I am going to do the less. And I think people underestimate Chandler's power as well. I think that Chandler comes in and wrestles and maybe TKOs Gaethje on the ground. But Chandler, we saw him knock out Dan Hooker and almost flatlined Oliveira too in his first 2 UFC fights. So he's got power too. So if they do exchange, this is definitely going to be less. Even if Chandler decides to wrestle, I still think it's probably going to be less. I just don't see any world where Justin throws 96 strikes or lands 96 strikes.
I completely agree because if Justin's landing that many, he's already knocked out Michael Chandler.
If he lands
Chandler
20,
doesn't have a great chin.
Yeah, if he lands 30 strikes, I mean, even saw that against Khabib too. I don't know how many he landed, but every single strike Justin Gaethje lands is a significant strike, and it's to put you away. So.
Yeah, he's not going to land 96 because Michael Chandler does have a suspect chin. If it was a younger Michael Chandler, the Michael Chandler we watched fight Eddie Alvarez, maybe he could take 96. He can't take 96 at this point. So I agree Justin Gaethje is the less. It's Michael Chandler's line that's interesting. 45.5 is like right down the middle. If Michael wrestles and wins a decision with the wrestling, he could probably get past 45. but obviously he does have that power. I don't know what to do with this line. This may be a less more or a less less. I guess you just got to put your feet down and dig in of what you think is going to happen in this fight. If you think, Justin Gaethje is going to win by stoppage, it's less less. Michael Chandler stoppage, less less. If you think Michael Chandler wins a decision, then you got to go less more. But I think no matter what, Justin is the less. And what I love about that is once we hit some of these slates, pick and choose, because you might get Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje in one of those, and we'll take the less because we're very confident in that. We'll take another quick look. John Allen versus Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby is a last-minute sort of, what do you have, like 4 days notice, late replacement. He hopped in here. Two strikers. Dustin's the much better striker. We've got 80 to 58. What do you think of this strike line?
This fight's kind of interesting because I think we all agree if Jacoby was, we talked about this in the breakdown, if he had a full camp, this fight wouldn't have happened probably, and he'd be like a 600 favorite because it's already still a 300 favorite. I was looking at this for betting, and I think is it 1.5 on this one? It might be, because I thought about taking the less on 1.5. So if I feel like the less on 1.5, I got to go less on this. Jacoby's just such a better striker. I just see him being able to get the finish early. So I probably play the less, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like the less as well because they are two strikers, but Jacoby is a different level striker. But Jacoby is not exactly a killer. He's not putting people away left and right, dropping people unconscious. He does pick you apart or work your body. Then when your body is destroyed, that's when he'll come to the head and look to finish. So, but it is a kind of a high line at 79. Which
and short notice too could play both ways, right? If you have a full camp, you feel good about your cardio, you feel good about your game plan. If you're short notice, it could be a first round. Let me just blitz him and try to put him away. So
yeah, or he could pick his shots. So the reason I like the less is it is a high. 80's a lot. So I like the less there. I don't know if John Allen's ever going to really get off in this fight and be able to put something really together. But even 60, that's 20 per round if it's 3 rounds. So if it's a two round type back and forth fight, less is good. Anything past that, you'll get the more and more. Let's take a look at one more fight. Which one do you want to look at? And then we'll jump into some slates.
What's the Ode one? The very first one. Go back up.
Yeah, the card opener. We have Ode Osbourne versus Carlos Vergara. Carlos Vergara making his official UFC debut. We got two strikers. Ode's got some real power. Carlos has some power, but decent combinations, puts it together well. Coming off a win on Contender Series, but this is his first official UFC fight. 66-47. I think this is a less as well. I think Ode puts away the sort of younger, less experienced Vergara, but Ode, we just watched him have a really dominant or did really well for 3 minutes or so and then got knocked out cold. That wasn't very long ago. And I don't know how recovered his chin could be. So while I like Ode and think Ode can win by knockout, his chin may not be 100% yet, and he could also be on the wrong side. So less is probably the play here.
Yeah, I'm going to play less for the striking, but also we mentioned in the breakdown, Ode's got a brand new camp, brand new coaches, brand new game plan. He also is a grappler too. So everyone thinks that him as a knockout artist. And what's interesting to me is I was looking for him as a submission bet. And the submission bet for him to win is only plus 285, which is pretty low for a win by submission. Usually those are 400, maybe even 600. So somebody knows something, at least in Bet Online, somebody knows something. So even if it isn't a striking match, I still kind of like the less here because he might come in and grapple and try to use submission skills as well. So I agree with you. I think it's a less play.
Well, and this is Carlos's first official UFC fight, which sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't. Actually, one more fight I want to look at. Let's see if they fixed the line. So Chris Barnett, John Vellante, we mentioned Chris doesn't look the part, but incredibly athletic, really fun to watch, very versatile, has cardio, power, and a chin. John Vellante is just sort of phoning in his career. He already said he's going to retire after this fight. He did not look very good on the scale, and he should be an 85-pounder if he really took his career seriously. The strike line is tricky, but the fantasy points, I already played this. Oh, man, they flipped it. They absolutely flipped it. You missed out on the line. The line was the opposite. So I played the more on Barnett, the less on Vellante because the line was the opposite. somebody pointed out in our comments, I attacked it. So Chris Riley and Monkey Knife Fight must have fixed this line. So we'll leave it alone. Missed opportunity there for anybody that didn't monitor the comments. But let's jump into some slates. So what the slates are, it's not just those straight lines. There's different opportunities here to parlay some of these picks together and to do some cool things like Knockout Kings. Knockout Kings, you pick any 3 fighters on the entire card. Any 3. You could have 2 people in the same fight. And then if you get 1 knockout or TKO, you get 25% net profit. You get 2.5 times your money if you get 2 knockouts and 6 times your money if you get 3. Who is your first pick in Knockout Kings? And this is actually a trickier Knockout Kings card.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking at my list right now, kind of going up and down, and I don't know if I love really anyone for, I guess, Ian Gary maybe, but he can also grapple. The issue with this card is there's a lot of people that can knock people out, but they can also grapple too. Like we just mentioned Ode, right? He can knock somebody out, but he's at plus 285 only for a submission win. Gary's kind of the same way. Honestly, you probably want to put Gagey is probably the easy pick, right? You probably absolutely want Gagey in there, but my pick would, I guess, Ian Gary.
I would do this. You got to do Ian Gary. You got to give him a try. You got to do Gagey, and I'm thinking Kamaru. You could do Ode. You could put Ode in there, but I think between one of these three people, you should get a knockout, right? 90%.
Well, you know what I would choose too is that Melsik, especially because Bruno Souza missed weight by 2.5 pounds. You were a little bit higher on Bruno than I was. I think Bruno is just kind of a weirdo that doesn't really know how to strike. Thinks he knows how to strike, but doesn't really. I would probably go Melsik, Gagey, and Gary for me. It's probably be my pick.
I'm not going to do that because I do like Bruno's elusiveness, right? That karate style, stay out of the way, solid full body movement. But I would do this or squeeze Ode in here somewhere. Ian Gary, big striker out of Ireland, out of Europe, trying to be the Conor McGregor of the division, and he looks amazing in his striking at times. Justin Gagey, listen, I like Michael Chandler in this fight, but who cares? I only need one of these 3 to win, and Michael Chandler does have that suspect chin. And then Kamaru Usman, I mean, he got the TKO last time. He got a TKO in his last fight. He got a TKO in the fight before that. So Kamaru Usman's starting to put people away with his hands in his last couple of fights. So this is mine. I'm actually playing this right now. Those are my 3. I only need 1, and I'll give a 25% return on my investment or net return. I normally... I don't know, man. I've been putting $50 on it because it's been a guarantee, but this is a little riskier than usual. So I'll do $20, basically guarantee a nice solid return there. And let's take a look at a few more slates before we shut this show down. Let's take a look at Rapid Fire. I love Rapid Fire. It takes random fighters and puts them together. So the big question here, will Kamaru Usman land more strikes than Shane Burgos, but Shane Burgos is getting 37. That's a hard one.
I go Usman all the way because I think that Burgos turns into more of a grappling match too. I think there's more grappling in that than you expect, which Usman could as well, but 5 rounds, Usman.
Yeah, I mean, Shane's a big high volume guy, but it is 5 rounds, and Kamaru has been high volume in the past as well. So we'll go with Kamaru here. Then we have Kobe and Rose, and Kobe's getting 3.5. This one's tricky because if you think the Rose Weili fight goes the distance, it's also 5 rounds, and it will just be, I don't see why it would be any less volume than the main event.
Yeah, was that a question? I go Rose.
There's a question. You're going Rose?
Yeah.
Interesting. So you have Kamaru over Shane, but Rose over Kobe.
Well, Rose is 5 rounds as well as Colby. Shane is not 5 rounds.
I know, but 37 strikes makes up for 2 rounds. And Kobe, man.
Listen, I have it inside the distance for Shane Burgos as well. So I think that fight ends early, where Usman, I don't necessarily feel that way. So
I'm going to go Kobe instead of Rose because I do think that fight, I think the Rose Weili fight, I like Weili. I think it will go a bit, but I don't know if it'll be a decision. It may be. Man, I don't know what to do with this rapid fire. I'm not going to lock this in. And then let's take a look at a 3
don't
for
force
3.
It, Angelo. Don't force it.
I'm not going to force it. That's my whole thing. Here's a 3 for 3. We got Kobe at 114, Billy Quarantillo at 112, Bobby Green at 106.
I hate all this.
I actually like these. I'm going to go more, less, more. 106 a lot for Bobby Green, though. But Colby Covington, I've been saying the more this whole time. I like this fight to go a good amount. He was super busy last time. Last fight, he got 140-something, and it ended in the 5th round. Billy Quarantillo, 112 in a 3-round fight is crazy for a couple of men that have actual power to put each other away. And Bobby Green, that line is actually a little hard, but Ally Aquinta is so tough that this could just be a back and forth, they go at it type fight. But Ally Aquinta might be shooting some takedowns.
That was gonna be my. For this, I'd play less. Honestly, I think Bobby Green's gonna be defending takedowns the whole time. I think he wins, but I think he's probably gonna be defending takedowns most of the rounds. Billy, you mentioned that, and then Colby. It just feels like I think he's gonna grapple a lot more than the last fight. So
even if he grapples, I'll leave it at 114. It's still 5 rounds.
That's just the wrong decision.
Okay. So $10 to win 50, which is what I love about these 3 for 3s. Let's look at the last 3 for 3, and then we will be done here. There's 2 options. So we just did 1. Let's look at the next 3 for 3. Usman, Shane, and Rose. This one I don't like. That's a high line. I'll do the less here.
I go less, more. Very easy.
Yeah, I don't like this one. One last tip or trick for you guys. Listen, the slates are divided between the full day, the early card, and the prelims. So if you're trying to hone in on a specific fighter and a specific slate, bounce around, pick your spots. Let us know your picks. I still got some money in this account, and I've told you many times what I like to do is spend all my money, win, withdraw the winnings, leave the original money, and then go from there every single week. wewantpicks.com/MKF. Make your deposit, take the free money, spread it out in these fights, and you should win money. I've been winning every week. Not a ton, but we're up $30 last week, like 7 the week before, 15, something like that. Small movements every week, getting it done.
Hey, Angelo, even pennies add up to dollars, my man.
Okay. I'll see you on Saturday for our pre-fight live stream.